name's Chris Sturhan. Welcome to another episode of Drinks from Eddie Muller's Noir Bar. Each week I take a chapter from the book Eddie Muller's Noir Bar, Cocktails Inspired by the World of Film Noir, and talk about the film in that chapter and I make the drink associated with it. Today we are going to be looking at the film from 1953, Wicked Woman, and making the drink The Bronx Revised. Now, The Wicked Woman was directed by Russell Roos. I think that's how you pronounce it. He has about 11, I think, IMDb directorial credits to his name. He probably got more work as a writer. In fact, his best known work was he wrote the story on which Pillow Talk was based. Now, the film stars Beverly Michaels, who is a very tall, gorgeous blonde woman who I've only seen in two films. This film and Pickup, which they played last week on Noir Alley. She's really pretty cool. I mean, she's very, very hot and she knows it, and she doesn't really try to hide the fact that she's just gonna grind everybody up underneath her high heels that she doesn't need because she's probably taller than the leading man anyway. She is really good in this. The film also stars Richard Egan. I think that was his name. I only knew him from one thing. He was the father in Love is a Mini Splendid Thing. He was Tuesday Weld's father, who was, other than the two kids who were just hot and horny, he was like the only real, sane person in that movie. Had a fairly long career, but you just don't see him very much. The other person that you'll probably recognize in this movie is Percy Hilton, who is a character actor that you probably know best. The one that I always mention is he was the drunken Santa Claus in Miracle on 34th Street that Maureen O'Hara has to fire at the beginning of that movie. He played a lot of kind of kindly, older, doddering characters, and he tended to get his best roles in film noir, where he could play kind of against type and be just this bad old man. And that's what he is here. Now, the story is Beverly Michaels. She shows up in town. She is pretty much broke. She gets off the bus, and I think she has enough money to pay for her room, and that's about it. She pay a week's rent on a room in a rooming house. She immediately looks for a job and finds one as a cocktail waitress in this bar. It turns out the bar is half owned by Richard Egan, the other half is owned by his wife. And it turns out his wife is kind of a lush, and Richard Egan doesn't like her drinking. So, it's kind of fair game for Beverly Michaels to come in and go after Richard Egan. And that's exactly what happens. And they kind of hatch a plot to like sell the bar out from under Richard Egan's wife, and that's kind of what goes on. With Percy Hilton, he plays the her cross the hall neighbor at the rooming house, and just plays a lecherous old man in the absolutely most creepy way. I mean, it's just bad, and as a way, in a way, because of the way pretty much all the men in the film kind of paw over Beverly Michaels, it kind of justifies her being the way she is, because all the men only want one thing from her, and she's gonna get something back over it, and that's kind of what drives the story, and that's what drove the other story, Pickup, that I saw of her. As I say, I haven't seen very much of her. Was directed by Richard Roos, as I mentioned earlier, who actually later went on to marry Beverly Michaels. The movie ends in not the way you would expect it to end, and in a way, part of the ending I was like, really? But then other part of the ending I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. So as a result, I'm kind of giving it that credit of I like the way it ended. So we're gonna call it that. There's one thing else that I want to mention about the movie, and this is something that Eddie Muller mentioned in his book, is that it kind of totters between camp and serious a lot of the time. And one of the places where it's the most camp is at the very beginning, over the opening credits, where they sing the theme song, which is this very, very 50s poppy, she was a wicked woman, type of thing. Sorry, I don't know the tune well enough to really sing it, and I don't sing very well, but that type of thing, it just kind of sets the tone for the movie. Now that opening song was sung by somebody whose name sounded familiar to me, but I had to read the chapter, figure out who he was. It was Herb Jeffries, who was a singing cowboy, an African American singing cowboy. So he was like the black version of Roy Rogers, and he made all black cast singing westerns, which I think is cool. And the fact that he's showing up here singing this cheesy ass song is absolutely perfect. Now we're going to take a short break and come back and make the drink, the Bronx Revised. It was revised by Eddie Muller. I think the traditional Bronx is more of a cocktail, kind of a short blast, and this is more of a highball drink, which is how Eddie Muller tweaked it. And we'll be drinking that in just a few minutes when we come back. I hope you stick around for that. Thanks. And we are back. So we are now going to make the Bronx Revised. Now this is a shaker drink. So I think the revision is that again, it's more of a highball. So we're going to load, and we're going to do as a shaken drink. I'm not sure whether it'd be stirred in the original, but that's we're shaking it now. It starts with 2.5 ounces of gin. So I'll get out my thing and see what we've got. And that's 1.5 ounces. And that makes 2.5 ounces, so 1.5 and 1. And then a half ounce each of sweet and dry vermouth. I'm using Martini and Rossi, which is actually very cheap vermouth, but considering that vermouth tends to go bad on you in the fridge, I've already dumped my bottle of sweet and dry vermouth because they sat in the fridge too long. I'm going with the cheaper stuff at this point, unless the drink specifically calls for a certain type. So there we go. We've got our sweet vermouth, our dry vermouth, and green cap goes on that bottle. And then we've got 2 ounces of fresh squeezed orange juice. Now, I'm not going to measure this because I squeezed it into a measuring cup, and it turns out one orange gave me almost exactly 2 ounces of orange juice, which I transferred to this, so we're just going to dump it all in. And there we go. Oh, and then we also need orange bitters to taste. And I don't know what to taste is. Let's see. 1, 2.5. How about that? Okay. Now, where's the top? I'm going to give this a good shake. And once again, I forgot my strainer. So I'm going to be straining it with... Okay, so we're going to load up our highball glass with some ice. And since I don't have a strainer, I'm going to make do with what I have. All right, now I'm going to just keep all the ice from going in here like that. Now, I gotta say, I've never been a huge fan of drinks made with OJ because, and I think it's because I've always used orange juice from concentrate. And fresh squeezed orange juice has kind of a different flavor. It's much mellower. It's not nearly as sweet. It's not nearly as strong flavored. And I gotta say, I think I like drinks made with fresh squeezed orange juice, which this one is. So here we go. Oh, we almost forgot our garnish wherever it went. Ah, there it is. Okay, the garnish is a orange peel. So we're going to squeeze it over the top and rub it around. I'm going to just kind of push it down into the side. And now we have the Bronx Revised in my wife's Lieutenant Uhura highball glass. So, I'm going to give it a shot. Cheers. Ooh, that's really nice. It's definitely not too sweet. You're getting just a hint of the gin, but it's all kind of working nicely together. I'm going to call this one a winner. I've never had the traditional Bronx, but whatever changes Eddie made on this version, I'm going to call that good. So from a booth in the back of Eddie Muller's Noir Bar, we're gonna sign out and say cheers and have one last drink, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.